Okay, so good afternoon. Good afternoon. I hope that in a short while I'll start with the analysis video that I promised. Because I understand that some people have access to the older videos, I decided, to, like, as they say in Hebrew, לעשות לכם ג'סטה, like like as they say, לפנים משורת הדין, to speak of things that can be found in this channel, should be found in this channel without a problem, and which means that I will also do a quick overview of several videos that actually are already here from about 6 weeks ago, and I will also show you some stuff from this video using two devices, like the phone for recording and the iPad for showing you some stuff. This is for the people that really don't have access or are so lazy that they just want everything that will be summarized for them. So okay, we will do it for you. But of course, in general, because it's also because it's kind of like, I think it's important video, the analysis one. But still, it's not this one. So before we do it, I also need to finish my lunch. But also, I want to show you a new project which I'll actually start today and maybe finish today, maybe tomorrow. We will see. So these are the eggs that we spoke about, like the eggs that I told you that I prepared literally hundreds of them during the last 2 years, and most of which are destroyed because of all sorts of reasons. The initial reason for their preparation is that I understood that in Israel it's illegal to have sex, and the neighbors in Shoham are electrocuting me and creating sound effects. So I will do their bidding, which is to masturbate into papers like these and to put it outside for them to take. And since I understood it 2 years ago, I do whatever I can so they will not get it. And at some point I thought maybe it cannot even be flushed down the toilet. So perhaps the only way to actually make it not accessible to them is to put it inside clay, which I started to do maybe 2 years ago. And most of it is actually destroyed, as I said, because of all sorts of reasons. Quite a bit was stolen, but many were destroyed by myself because I didn't want it to go to the hands of the Shabak. I understood very well that it's worth a lot of money, but I had no way to actually make money with it, which is still the situation until proven otherwise. So since this January, when I do it, I masturbate into paper, I stopped doing it, but instead I do it into all sorts of syringes and containers to be used in my research. But since a couple of maybe a month or 2 months ago, this is actually part of this something we will discuss in the next video, the analysis video. I almost never used first generation the nanobots in these experiments. First generation means nanobots that were taken directly from my body, either from my semen or from my pee or saliva. I almost never do it. For my experiments, I almost always use, I would say, second and robots that were born outside my body. And this is done using two, as I already mentioned, this is done doing two, either the electrolysis method or the ecosystem method. In any case, I don't use it, so I just put it in this bag. There are something 35 of these, 35 times that I did it. And the same, we see the same, thing, the same, I'm already familiar with what's going on because it had already happened when I was under arrest at my mother's apartment, that whenever I do just such a things, the Israeli predators are losing their shit, they're losing their mind, because they of course, I'm under surveillance all the time. They see the bag, they think, in any moment, if we push the correct triggers, the robot will take the bag and put it outside the wall because we pushed, presumably they pushed the correct triggers, now it's under our command, and we will get all this, valuable stuff. So they're losing their shit, and I know from experience that when I wrap it in clay, the attacks, all the triggers and the violence, I mean, a little bit like, significantly decreases, at least for a while. Because, I mean, they are, for them, it's like, I mean, it's more of a problem to get it out of the clay. And, I mean, have already seen me many times, like, destroy this clay, these clay eggs. Maybe it's time to mention that, I mean, in my mother's apartment, there should be something like 20 clay eggs that were left, which is like just a small fraction of everything that I had. But in addition, I already have like several sculptures, symbolic sculptures like the snakes and the starships in it that, I mean, they are the same principle. They are clay with these, like, I mean, wrapped papers in it. And they contain like something like 50, I would say, standard dosage. And because, I mean, only the spaceship contain, that I know that exists, contains something like 20, and there is another spaceship that I hope exists that contains 10 more or 15 more, and like there are the snakes. No, maybe there is like 60 or 70, 60 in the sculptures, hopefully. And here we have. So I've decided to, as you understand, to prepare the clay eggs, not sculptures, because actually sculptures are, even if they seem like not very mimetic or elaborated, even like seemingly simple structures that are made of clay, if they are big enough like to hold 20 of these, and if like, I mean, it's actually a lot of work. I worked quite a bit on the sculptures during my house arrest at my mother's apartment. It's not as simple as it might seem, like all those snakes and the bases and the Graal and the spaceships. It's more complicated than it seems like. I mean, it looks like every child can do it, but I mean, it's not actually the fact, because there are many things that you need to think about, like it shouldn't be done with too much material, because it gets like tremendously, clay is very heavy if you use a lot, and there are, I mean, I use all sorts of clays, like, I mean, natural and synthetics, and the issue with coloring, so it's actually more complicated than it seems. So what I'm going to do now is just, I mean, to create the eggs. It will be one of these in each. There should be 20 already and 35 when I finish. Something like 35 eggs. And I'll wrap, some are wrapped in nylon and some wrapped with aluminum foil. This is needed in order for them like to keep their egg shape, because otherwise, I mean, it's a problem to like, it's better that way, I mean, for all sorts of reasons. But the Neros, after some time, they can break these like barriers, and they go to, I mean, they reach the clay. I mean, it's not a problem for them after a while, like, to do it. And so I will use the clay that I have, like a layer of natural clay, and above it layer of synthetic clay, which will be mixed with three colors. It's like a technique that I have already known to actually show like nice results. And maybe someday I will be able to sell it. Hopefully so. But I mean, the important thing is that, I mean, the Israeli like predators will not see this bag, and I mean, imagine that every minute if they are just push the right buttons or do the correct like whips and honks and sounds, and they're going to get it, because the existence of this bag, I mean, is causing me torture. I mean, I know it from experience, like from the past, like in Shoam and in my mother's apartment. When they see it, I mean, they think every moment, I mean, they're gonna get it. So, and with clay, it's I mean, theoretically they can steal it as well, but they are less inclined to do so, and they already know from experience that these are many times I just break them like and burn them like all over the country. Now there is still the issue of, I could also say that they covet these like tremendously, because they know from experience that these are clean ones, because for many years they've stolen it from me, and it's not a new thing. And regarding the ones that are in the aquarium, like the various aquariums that, I mean, like the ones that you've seen under the microscope yesterday and the day before, so they are more afraid of it, because it contains all these like synthetic life forms, and they are afraid to eat it. And probably, I mean, they are with good I mean, probably, I mean, they shouldn't eat it at all. They're crazy that they eat it. But I mean, I can understand why a human would not be like very, I mean, enthusiastic towards like eating the gigantic synthetic life forms. There's still the question of whether the titans that, I mean, can eat those life forms. I don't know. You tell me. I just don't know if they can eat those life forms. Like, I mean, this might affect actually a practical issue, I mean, with regards to these eggs that I will create, because after the 2 layers of clay will be dried, I need to think like of a wrapping layer. So in the past I've used varnish and also sometimes also acrylic paint and very rarely oil paint. Oil paint seems to be the least actually the option that makes the least sense, and that's what I've thought for several months. Just because I didn't try it, it seems to be that it doesn't make sense, because, like, I mean, the egg should be something that you can touch, and I mean, and oil takes a lot of time to dry, and then, I mean, it still can leave marks on the hand, and I mean, it's kind of like sculptures that, I mean, people presumably want to touch. I mean, even if they eat something in between, maybe they want to reassemble it and keep it like as a souvenir, and so I didn't even try it. But actually, that was not the case, because after several months, I've seen that if you put varnish and then, first of all, I think that the most beautiful results, I mean, are the ones that are not using any color at all, just a mixture of synthetic clays or natural clay with a little bit of synthetic clays, and this actually gives you the best results. Just to rely on the colors of the of the synthetic clay. There are several colors, not many, but there are several, and the natural clay. Right now I don't have I have only one type of natural clay, but I had other types in the past. And this actually gives you, and like when you put varnish, like acrylic varnish on it, it gives you the best results from my experience, and also the ones that, I mean, they stick the best, I think, like from aesthetic point of view. That's what I think. So I should probably do that. You can also control the color, I mean, by, like, through, like, different times, like, by changing, like, when exactly you put the varnish, like, because when you put the varnish, it's mostly, like, it keeps the color of the clay, like, at the time when you put the varnish, and like, if you don't put the varnish, the color changes over time. Initially it becomes like, it changes because, water evaporates, but even after, like, the majority of the water evaporates, it still changes a little bit, and varnish keeps it like on place. So that's another way, like, to control the color without using colors. Like, but there is the other option of putting, like, painting with acrylics that I've done quite a lot. This gives you a ton of options, because I had in the past, like, more than 100 types of acrylic paints, and of course you can mix, and I had many, like, mediums, like, for mixture, like different mediums. Now I have less, but I still have quite a bit. But actually, applying it after the varnish, which seems to make sense, doesn't make sense at all, because it's, it breaks, like, after that. It doesn't look good, like, after some time, after, like, a couple of months, and it kind of, like, it easily breaks out. So this is actually not a good, the proper way. So if I will want to use acrylic, I'll probably do it without varnish. Now, why should I do? Why do you even think about it? First, well, it gives you more artistic choices. Like, of course, because I still have, like, dozens of acrylic colors. But also, another option is to actually mix the acrylic colors with Nero juices, specifically ones from the aquarium. Not many, but even just a small bit will ensure you that the outer layer will be filled with synthetic life forms and with robots. And with time, they will presumably even multiply, like, as we've seen with the paintings. And this is good for two reasons. First, it's kind of like an authenticity of the product, because, it's very, very hard for another person to actually, it's impossible for another person to actually, like, fake such a thing. So if someone buys it, they immediately can see that, that it's authentic, even though there is still the option of breaking it and taking what's inside and replacing it with another thing and then gluing it. But, everything could be fake eventually. But that's like something like authenticity. And also, maybe, the buyer will also want, like, the mixture, like the polluted mixture, which will contain all those, like the ones that is on the painting, like, that you've seen, that, it's worth it's worth something anyway, like, because it's like first, it will contain like many robots, and for sure, as we've seen like in the paintings. And second, it will contain life forms, which will be another proof like for the existence of non-carbon based life and alien life in general. The only problem, perhaps a problem, I don't know, is that I cannot ensure that these life forms will not actually creep inside the clay and will pollute, with quote or without, the material that inside the field. And for humans that want to eat it, it will certainly, be an obstacle. But why do I care? My stand is that humans shouldn't eat it anywhere at all. Never, in any circumstances. And regarding Titans, I don't know. That's why I'm still open to to suggestions on the matter. I still haven't decided, but I don't need to decide because in any way, first the first step is to create the clay layers, and it will take at least 2 days because we need to wait for them to actually dry before we can think about varnish or color. Now, another option that exists is to color the clayed eggs with oil. As I said, it sounds completely like the option that makes least sense. But after several months, I decided to actually, in hundreds of experiments, I decided to actually try it while I was still under arrest in my mother's apartment. And if you use the correct solvents, specifically if you use never mind, the brands, never mind. But if you use the correct solvents, actually, it looks surprisingly well. And when it dries, after a couple of weeks, it actually looks, I would say, even better than the acrylic, and it stays. It actually sticks to the clay better than the acrylic, after months. And it's not that sticky. It can leave particles in your hand, but this is also true for acrylic. And so actually oil is perhaps a better option than acrylic in this, surprisingly so. And the issue with the life forms and the neo juice can also be mixed with oil, as you've seen in the many paintings. So it's the same question, whether we actually want to do it, to mix the oil with and the solvent with a little bit of juice from the aquarium with nanobots and life forms, and this. The same kind of arguments for and against that I presented in the case of acrylic is also exists with oil. In any case, as I've said, I can wait with this decision a couple of days because it will take a couple of days. Until they are dried, and usually you don't want to to put varnish or color on if the clay is not completely dried, because it will then it will be much harder for the water to evaporate, but it cannot stay there forever. So it will create pressure, and it will probably crack the outer layer. So it's not a good idea. You need to let it dry. Hopefully I will be able to sell it someday in a good price. So I will continue with this and also with my lunch, and after that we will do this analysis video that I speak about so much now.